Hello, my name is Stuart. I'm a classical record collector, former professional record dealer. I haven't really been buying and selling records for over 20 years, to be honest. But I'm getting back into listening to vinyl. That's the main thing for me, the music, and it always was the main thing, even when I was a dealer. If I went out and bought a collection, I couldn't wait to get the collection home, pick out my favorite records and, listen to them. That was always the prime thing with me, not the money. Obviously, I did well out of records, out of classical records, but I've always primarily been interested in classical records because of the sound quality and the performers and the music, etc. So the reason I'm making this video is because I got back into records after a long break, mainly through finding a second-hand record player in a charity shop, which I bought for hardly anything. Bought a new stylus for it. It works reasonably well, but obviously it's completely inadequate for the kind of sound quality that I want. So I'm thinking about buying a new record player and exactly what am I going to buy. I don't want to buy something and then find out it's really not what I wanted and then have to change it. I really need to get it right first time. So just briefly, let me just give you a rundown on what I had back in the golden days for me of vinyl listening. So I suppose the first serious record player that I had was a System Deck 2X. System Deck 2X back in the, when was it, early 90s. So I had a System Deck 2X, beautiful turntable, black wooden plinth case and everything. I think that the platter was, what was it, Perspex or was it even glass? I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly. And then it had a felt mat sitting on it. I had a moth arm and I had a Goldring 1042 cartridge. Now that Goldring 1042 was a real beast. It was probably more suited to, I would say, pop and rock than classical. But that was certainly a meaty cartridge. I wouldn't say it had too much finesse about it, but it certainly packed a powerful punch. And I did enjoy the System Deck 2X. And to be honest with you, I should have really stuck with it. It's probably as good as, any turntable around today, which you can buy for, say, under £500. I should have really stuck with it. But when you get the hi-fi bug, you start chopping and changing around. And the Linn SDDE had a big reputation in those days, a huge reputation, and people were saying to me, well, the System Deck is good, but it won't be a patch on a Linn SDDE LP12. Well, I shouldn't really have listened to that. I shouldn't have listened, but I went and auditioned an LP12. I went to a Linn dealer, and of course, I phoned them up and I said, what record player would you recommend? Well, of course they recommended LP12, and I went and had a listen to the LP12. And yeah, of course I liked it. I mean, it looked nice. I love the stainless steel platter, and it looked like a good piece of engineering. And the people that were selling it really talked it up very well. And I bought it. In those days, I think with an Akito arm, and I can't remember what cartridge I had. I think it was a relatively low cost cartridge. I had a Akito arm. It was black case. I think in those days, in the early 90s, the whole setup cost me about £650. So I enjoyed that for a while. And then a colleague of mine, somebody who was just getting into dealing with records, he was developing a turntable of his own, something that he eventually ended up calling the Eclipse. And he brought some prototypes around to my house, and I listened to them. And actually, I found that they compared very, very well with the Linn SDDE, or, even better. I thought he was arrogant. I said to him, you think you can make a better turntable than Linn? And he said, yes. He said, because the Linn's got problems with the design. It's a sprung chassis. It bounces around, and he doesn't like their design. I can't remember what he used for the chassis, I think he used cast iron or something like that. It was quite a heavy design, and I ended up buying from him for about 350 or £400 one of his designs, which came with an SME 3009 arm. I fitted my own cartridge. I matched it up. Yeah, okay, so I sold my Linn Sondek. Yeah, I sold it. It's gone. And I bought the Eclipse. He eventually marketed it. It's actually been reviewed in a hi-fi magazine. It got a very good review. He was marketing it at £1,500 price point, and at that price point, it did actually get a very, very good review. So it was a good turntable, but it was a commercial failure. He couldn't really get anywhere with it because he didn't have the marketing expertise. It didn't look as nice as really a lot of other turntables out there, and I think appearance is important, but it really did sound good. And with the SME 3009 and a Shure VST5 cartridge and stylus with a dynamic stabilizer, it had so much finesse to it. To my shame, I sold it recently in an absolutely ridiculous way. So I kept that turntable throughout my marriage. I didn't really listen to it much because, we were bringing up a child, and my listening was really mainly on CD in those days because it was quite a lot of hassle. It's not easy in that environment to sort of listen to music. So anyway, for 20 years of my marriage, I'm now divorced. I wasn't really, as a vinyl fan, I wasn't really too happy, but I don't really want to talk about that. Let's just move on. So why did I sell it? Okay, so I got divorced and I was using it. I had a valve pre-power combination, pre-power combination, a pair of Croft amplifiers that were very good. I really liked those, really neutral presentation. And it was a beautiful sounding system. And I had a pair of tall KEF speakers. It really was a very, very good system. Not absolute top of the range, but I think that in today's world, you'd have to spend about a good £5,000 to get something that would compete with what I used to have, maybe even more. I've never been one for speaker cables. I mean, I just buy fairly standard speaker cables. I've experimented. I've never found they particularly make a big difference. So yeah, so some of you will disagree with me on that. Yeah, so I sold my Croft, I sold my KEF speakers. I got under some financial pressure and I had to sell them, had to raise a bit of money, unfortunately. So they went, kept my record player, and I bought a Cambridge Audio integrated amplifier and a pair of LTEX bookshelf speakers from Richer Sounds for about 40 quid, which I've still got. So yeah, the reason that I sold my record player, absolutely crazy reason, I sold it to raise money to buy a tow bar for my car because I was planning to tour around the UK in a caravan, and I had to raise the money. I was still paying my ex-wife maintenance, and although I earned reasonable money, when you're paying out big money in maintenance, and I had a big tax bill as well, it really left me with hardly anything. So yeah, I ended up I sold my record player. The Shure VST5, I believe I've still got the shell somewhere. The stylus, I think, broke, and I replaced it with a Goldring Elan cheap, low-cost cartridge. So I've got to try and dig that out. If I could get hold of that Shure VST5 shell, all I need is stylus, and that is a really good moving magnet cartridge. So yeah, I sold that, and I tried the caravanning. It didn't work out, and eventually I moved into a flat, and I'm getting back into records. So the record player I've got, it's just about the cheapest record player you could imagine. It's a Bush, tiny little thing, and I mean, it's kind of adequate. And if you're playing a record in really good condition, it's fine. But if you're playing a record that, I mean, some of the orchestral passages sound a bit mushy, lack of definition, and some of the records that have got more than, say, 25 minutes on one side, the end of side distortion is quite serious. So I really need something that can track those difficult end of sides. So I'm in the market for a new turntable. Now, I've been looking in Gumtree and I saw Torrens TD 160 Mark II. Now, I used to have a Torrens TD 150 as a backup turntable all those years ago. And I actually sold it to somebody, but actually I remember it wasn't a bad turntable. So the TD 160, I've seen it for sale on Gumtree. The guy's still got it. He's asking £150. It's got an arm and cartridge. It's got the original arm with it and cartridge. My only problem with that Torrens is, again, it's a sprung chassis. I don't really like sprung designs. That's just it. I mean, you know, with the Linn, it's sprung. And I used to know Tom Fletcher from Nottingham Analog, and he said that sprung designs are silly. He said it's like Robin Hood standing on a, you know, on a plinth that's got a spring underneath it, and he's trying to he's trying to aim he's trying to aim the arrow, and he didn't think it was a good design. And he had really high mass platters, really chunky designs. I never bought one off him. I wish I'd bought his Space Deck, but at the time I was happy with what I had. He's now deceased, unfortunately. Poor Tom. He died. I'm not sure what he died of, but it's sad that he did die, because he's got a fantastic. I can't afford to buy one of his turntables now, because my budget for a turntable is going to be maximum £500. Yeah, so yeah, the Torrens. No, I've ruled it out. I've done a bit of research. I don't want to buy anything where needs a lot of setting up. I think a Torrens, if I'm going to get it, it's going to cost another £100 to get it set up properly. So I don't really want to buy a Torrens or an old turntable. I'm looking for something brand new. I was looking at, see, either I'm going to go, I've got a budget up to £500, say. I think I should be able to get something reasonable for that amount of money. And you can start at the lower end. For example, Audio-Technica do some turntables around about 150 to 200, which have got some good reviews. Automatic, you know, auto return and everything. And you can't change the cartridge or anything like that. So I've sort of looked at those and I thought, well, that might not be significantly better than what I've got at the moment, this Bush record player. And I think that in reality, what I want is something where if I want to change the tone arm, if I want to change the cartridge, I can do that. I like having an auto return. I've found that quite useful, but I can live without it. And I always thought the less electronics there is in a chassis, the better. It's only going to add to the interference. It's only going to, it's not going to make the sonic quality is the most important thing to me, not convenience. So it never was a problem for me returning the tone arm. If it gets to the end of the record and you've popped out of the room, it'll just, you know, skate backwards and forwards, and you know, obviously then you can just return the tone arm yourself. So I've been to a website called the Audiofilmancom. He's got quite a good, he's got his 10 best under £500 budget turntables. And I've been going through them, and I quite like the look of this one. I'll put the picture in, Audio-Technica LP5X. It's £325. And actually that looks nice. I think that looks pretty good. And it's good. I mean, obviously he's recommending it. He says that it puts sound quality first above all other considerations. I think it looks like quite an attractive record player. I like the platter. The arm looks nice, and it's a good solid looking design. So that's a possibility. Okay, the next one that also looks nice is something called a Fluence RT83. I've never heard of Fluence, but that's quite a nice looking design. I don't know what you think of it. I think that looks very, you know, I like the shiny, I like the gloss finish on the plinth, and the platter looks nice. I'm not sure what that's made of. Oh, okay. The plinth is, it's wooden with a walnut veneer. Yeah, it looks nice. It looks good. Right. And then we've got this thing here, the Project Debut Evo, which is the most expensive one at £449. That looks interesting. I'm not too sure about a yellow plinth. That's the only thing. So that one looks quite nice as well. But, you know, it looks to me like for around £500, I can buy quite a good quality record player, you know, with a tone arm and cartridge, which is probably going to be more wise to do that than buy something for say 150 or 200 and think, oh, damn it, for an extra 200, I could have had something like that, because I want something now that's going to last me, that I'm not going to be thinking, oh, I want to go for a Mitchell gyro deck, or I want to, you know, I want to go for something really, you know, fantastic. So I think that this will be adequate. There's obviously the law of diminishing returns with record players. So I think for this price level, I could get something which will deliver me the quality of sound that I'm looking for that amount of money. Yeah. If you've got any suggestions, any recommendations on that price point under 500, do let me know, of course. There's a lot of rubbish turntables out there. Obviously, the resurgence in vinyl has spawned so many very cheap designs, mainly for people to plug in through the USB and digitize their records or record players in a sort of case with speakers built in. So there are a lot of people using that kind of equipment, which is a shame, because if they would just spend a reasonable amount of money, which is what I'm going to do, they would find out how good vinyl really can sound. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to spending that money. I'm not spending it just yet. I'm just going to do a bit of research and maybe get some more recommendations. Ideally, I would like to audition. So, you know, I would probably rather spend an extra £50 and go to a dealer and audition different designs rather than try and get a discount from a mail order supplier. Because, I mean, 50 quid is neither here nor there, really. And from a dealer, I could listen to different designs and get the thing set up before I take it away, which getting something by mail order like a record player is never ideal, really. But I mean, it could work out all right. But, yeah, let me know if you've got any comments, and that's it for now. I'll be back again soon with another video. Bye.